Welcome back, everybody. We're here just about to begin the round 2 of the Arizona Regional Championships. But first, let's take a moment to talk about round 1.
Yeah, so actually what we decided we want to do is provide you guys with an update of some notable players and their performances, like basically who won. So we just got a little list here, went around and took a poll of everybody, did it by hand. So we're very hard to get this information for you instead of just waiting for the second round pairing. Yeah, we have people on the ground.
Mostly us.
So let's see. So we've got Aaron Zhang won his round. We have Alberto Lara won his round.
And maybe mention
who they played. Sure. So Aaron Zhang won against David Capelle, I think. Alberto Lara won against Alexander Stewart. Let's see. Chase Liebert won against Johnny Gomez. Gavin Michaels won against Tracy McLaughlin. Gerard De La Cruz won against Bjorn Johnson. Giovanni Costa won against Michael Aaron Trefry,
almost. It looks
something like that. Ian McLaughlin won against Josh Dement. Jake Muller won against Mike Alhaji. James Eakes won against Sam Butler. Kimo Nishimura won against Tyson Gernak. Mike Suleski won against Giovanni Jimenez. Patrick Smith won against Kyle Gordon. Riley Factura won against Kendall Towns. And
Sam.
Oh, okay.
Fidget. Dr. Fidget.
Gotcha. Dr. Fidget. Samuel Harsma? Harsma. Okay. Won against Jake State Farm Fisher. And then, as you saw, William won against Tommy Cooling. So that we're going to keep doing this throughout the rounds, mostly just with the winners so that we can kind of together watch how Top Cut might shape up. So that's what happened round 1.
Yeah, and hey, if there's anybody you want to see on stream in the future, we can't make any guarantees.
Right.
We try to pick matches that'll be interesting. But let us know who you want to see. Our tweeters are down below. You can follow me at iBeatoof. You can follow Krell
at Krell it like it is.
And I finally learned that's what his username is.
That's what that means. It's not just a jumble of my last name and random words. So
yeah. But yeah, let us know who you want to see there. But let's start talking about round 2. Who do we have?
We have Mike Suleski, and who is Omega Donut.
Pokemon PhD is
Pokemon
actually
PhD
his Twitter.
On Twitter, right? That's right. Was his Omega Donut his old name?
I guess. I
think.
I don't really know, honestly.
I'm a little newer to the scene, so I'm not sure about all these old names. But then we have playing him. We have Jake Muller, Major Bowman of Texas fame, and sure a lot of you guys are familiar with these two very accomplished players, very smart players.
Yeah, and both players have been around for a really long time. I mean, Mike Suleski was the 2009 national champion, I believe.
I couldn't tell you, but I would believe it because he is a great player. He's come to. So he doesn't live in Arizona anymore. I think you said he's in Philly, right?
He's in Philly.
Okay, so he's in school in Philly, but I think he was originally from Arizona, and he would come. We had a PC marathon over the winter last year, and he came to that because he was back in town from school probably, and he just ran through 2 or 3 PCs. We did a marathon, and we didn't know what hit us, man. We just we got PhD'd, which is now a verb.
Yeah, and I know Jake, he kind of had a tough time at Worlds,
right. But I think both these players did.
Mike couldn't make it.
Oh, okay, that's right.
He had a tough time even getting to Worlds, if we want to go that far.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to go ahead and switch the screen because I believe we're going to be starting shortly.
Right. Actually, you know what?
Oh.
We need to get their match slip.
Oh.
We'll figure that out later.
We'll figure
that
out.
Focus on the match.
Let's switch back to us for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I assume when I hear the voice above that we're going to be starting soon.
Yeah, no. Okay, so,
But back to, Jake's finishes this past year. He had a very formidable regionals run last year, if memory serves correct.
Yep.
And he's kind of local to this area. Isn't he from Oklahoma?
Who, Jake?
Yeah.
No, I think he's Texas, right?
I actually don't know.
I know he's in Texas now. He maybe is from Oklahoma originally. I'm not sure, but
yeah, clearly we should do a little more homework before we go on to talk about these things.
Yeah, but that's okay. Actually, I think they probably won't bring the match slip over because we didn't get a chance to tell them who we were streaming. But we can grab it for him after. I think we're probably able to get into the game, and we'll get their match slip after.
All right, it looks like we might be starting.
Yeah.
I just heard the begin talk, so let's get right into this. So we have Mike up on the bottom screen. Jake is up on the top screen. So let's.
No, it's the other way around, actually. I think Jake.
Did I mess up the names?
No. Jake is because Jake is on capture card, right? So
Yes.
this is Jake's team.
Yes. So I messed up the names.
Okay.
That's okay. There is an easy fix for that.
No worries.
This is why computers are my friends.
Bam, like magic, folks.
All right. It didn't actually switch their Twitter names though, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Why don't you talk a little bit about what teams these players are running?
Sure thing. So let's see. Let's go with Jake. He has Xerneas, Kyogre, Hitmontop, Amoonguss, Salamence, and Bronzong. And as we get into the game, you guys are good to start.
All right, everybody's Twitter is in the right location.
Perfect.
We have the right screen on stream, so these players are going to get started.
Right, so we just went over Jake's team. We got the Reindeer archetype, which is seen a lot more usage now that Kyogre has kind of become more popular now that, Rayogre. Groudon's just kind of fallen off that way.
Oh,
and then
wow.
why don't you show us, let's look at...
Mike, going for what looks like a carbon copy of Wolf Glick's world-winning World Championship team.
Yeah.
That Gengar, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Bronzong, Raichu, and Hitmontop team. I mean, I know we thought we were going to see it, but...
Right.
Round 2 seems a little bit early, honestly.
Yeah, but you know what? We don't know that it's 100% the exact same team. He might have teched because people are obviously very aware of what is on Wolf's team. However, the other thing that I think is worth considering is a lot of people are definitely going to copy that team and use that. However, not everybody is Wolf Glick caliber player. So a lot of newer players probably want to see that and try to emulate it, and that's a good way to learn. But they're just definitely not going to always be able to use it as well, I think. However, someone like Mike, who is a good player, might have a better time understanding those complicated switches with the Volt Switch and eject button, and might be a better pilot. So I'm not saying that this is going to be, Wolf level, Wolf or Marcus or Billa or I'm sorry, Barris or Brendan Zhang level of play, because they obviously had the team for a little bit longer. I wouldn't be surprised if he did a very good job managing this team.
Yeah, and in the past, I've trained with Mike for getting ready for regionals, especially in the 2015 season, and this is the kind of team I think he finds himself most comfortable with.
Right.
It's more of a bulky team. It's more, for speed control. It's more trying to aim for just running down that clock, and I think that's where he's at home.
Yeah.
But let's get this game started. We're going
to
to see Jake start this game out with a Amoonguss and Salamence lead into Mike's Raichu and Gengar lead.
And I think immediately the first thing that comes to mind is we're going to see a fake out onto Jake's side of the field, and possibly a Spore coming out from Mike's side of the field. And so I think, or onto Mike's side of the field. So I think that's honestly what these players are going to want to do. Of course, Raichu is faster than the Amoonguss, so he's going to be able to get that fake out off first. But you also don't really want to let that Salamence start getting damage. It's obviously not going to do a whole lot to Raichu. Raichu does resist flying types, and if it is just like Wolf's, it's going to have an Assault Vest and take a Hyper Voice very well. However, Gengar is certainly not going to appreciate a Double Edge, certainly not going to appreciate a Hyper Voice much either. I mean, we saw in Will's game, granted it did Mega Evolve then, but it didn't take a Hyper Voice great. So he might want to shut that down, but then you run the risk of having one of your Pokemon put to sleep.
Definitely. Gengar Mega Evolving right off the bat. Salamence slowly following suit. Worth noting, we didn't see Mega Gengar last round, but this round, it does have that Shadow Tag ability. It will prevent Jake from switching out any of his Pokemon until it has been knocked out. Salamence going for that Feint Raichu, protect Raichu using Feint. Targets the Amoonguss and not the Salamence. So Amoonguss does get taunted thanks to Gengar, but it reveals its Mental Herb, getting rid of that taunt and allowing it to use Spore to put Gengar fast asleep.
Wow, so we already saw that this is a different kind of Raichu, at least, from what Wolf ran. Wolf didn't have Feint. He had Endeavor, Fake Out, Volt Switch, and Nuzzle,
I believe.
So I think it's reasonable to imagine that this might be Feint instead of Endeavor. That seems like a good switch to have, like, to switch that move out. But what I think is important is that adds another dynamic to his team, because now he doesn't have to worry about Endeavor, but he does have to worry about protecting. It's not going to be a safe play for him anymore.
Gengar switching out, Bronzong coming in its place, so it looks like Mike only brought potentially one of his restricted Pokemon to this game. Salamence using that Double Edge to target the Bronzong for a decent chunk of damage. It's not going to do a lot, but in VGC 16, every little bit counts Raichu going for that Volt Switch, it's hard to say who he targeted. Amoonguss did use Rage Powder to redirect it, but, at the end, the result is still basically the same, that Raichu is going to switch out, and the question is, will Mike send his Gengar right back in? And that's what happens. So we're still not going to see any switches on Jake's side of the field for the foreseeable future.
Right, so I think that was a good play by Jake. Obviously, he had to reposition because he lost his Gengar, was going to go to sleep. That mental herb was unfortunate for him, but at least he'll be aware of that in game 1. However, that was a good switch because it was pretty obvious that Jake was going to want to target down that Gengar if he could. Obviously, it's a huge problem. But switching in Bronzong, which is a steel type, which resists that flying type attack, safe, though, it did take a good amount of damage. And now the question here is he going to want to try and set up Trick Room? I mean, he's got an Amoonguss across the field. You don't really generally want to do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Mike switches out his Gengar once again. It's almost as if he's trying to keep it on the field just to prevent Jake from switching.
Yeah.
Double Edge from that Salamence going into the Raichu does about 50% damage. Amoonguss's Spore will put Bronzong to sleep. So we won't know what happened this turn unless it's holding a Lumberry, which it is. So a Bronzong sets up Safeguard. Okay. So, Mike's in a pretty good position right now, I think. He doesn't have to worry as much about Amoonguss sort of stomping on all his plans from here on out.
Yeah, but that Raichu sure took a lot of damage. Raichu is a pretty frail Pokemon, so it's even going to take damage from an attack that it resists. However, that's probably not a great position. He does have Fake Out pressure, though, now, which is probably nice. He is either going to be able to... Well, he doesn't have to worry about the Spore. Actually, he's pretty much eliminated Amoonguss's value right now. It could get Sludge Bombs off for some damage, but not on the Bronzong, at least. So now you might see him go for a Fake Out on Immense to try and start setting up and go to
Amoonguss
work.
using Protect this turn. Raichu going for that Fake Out into the Amoonguss slot, interestingly enough. We're going to see Salamence use that Hyper Voice to miss the knockout on Raichu. Does a little bit of damage to Bronzong, not a lot. And Bronzong going for a Skill Swap, giving itself Aerialate, which is honestly a very interesting play. I'm not sure if Mike was expecting a switch there or not.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. Aerialate isn't going to do anything for Bronzong, right? But that does cause a lot of problems for Salamence because technically, Double Edge and Hyper Voice, normal type moves that only become flying type to give it the same type attack bonus because of the Aerialate ability. So without it, Salamence is going to be doing way less damage, still going to be resisted by that Bronzong. Granted, it will now be able to hit Raichu for a neutral damage, but that really does mitigate the damage output that Salamence is able to do, which might give Mike the opportunity to switch in either his Rayquaza or his Kyogre safely so he can start Water Spouting and Origin Pulsing and Ice Beaming, things like that.
Amoonguss finally leaving the field. We're going to see that Kyogre come in its place. Kyogre, a very powerful attacker in the VGC 2016 metagame. It's going to Primal Revert. It's going to set up Rain, which will help, superpower its water-type moves. If Raichu's carrying Thunder, we will also see an accuracy increase, but it's really hard to say or try to guess what Raichu's running at this point in time. Bronzong's also going to switch out. We're going to see Mike send in his own Kyogre, so we have even more Primal Reversions here.
We got the Whale Wars.
It is a Whale War when you think about it. It's hard seeing a mirror primal match like this, It comes down to whose Kyogre's faster. Does one Kyogre have Thunder? And we'll just have to see how this is going to play out. Hyper Voice from Salamence picking up the knockout onto Raichu. Not going to do a lot of damage on Kyogre, but, that basically stopped Mike from dealing any damage this turn.
Yeah, like that. So that's what I was talking about. Now that the Aerialate is gone, look at how little damage Kyogre is. Obviously, it's already very bulky on the special side, but it's probably going to even take a Double Edge pretty well, which is going to free Mike up to use Ice Beam if he wants to just get rid of the Salamence. It also, he could not even worry about it. Start Water Spouting, start Origin Pulsing. The other interesting thing is, like you said, in Kyogre mirror matches, with Groudon, it's a lot easier. You can just Precipice Blade into another Groudon, hit it for super effective damage. But Kyogre resist their own main stabs, so it really becomes a question of, does one of them have Thunder?
Yeah, so Gengar staying asleep this turn. Kyogre on Jake's side of the field protecting, while Salamence takes this opportunity to set up Tailwind. So that'll definitely ensure that Jake's Kyogre is faster. Next turn, Kyogre on Mike's side of the field has Icy Wind, so it's going to knock out that Salamence, but because that Kyogre protected, it really doesn't help Mike get any sort of speed advantage on his side of the field. That Tailwind is going to reign supreme.
Yeah, but I really like that play. It was a nice, easy way. I mean, Jake was smart to protect, right? It protected his Kyogre, let him read into a potential Thunder if that was going to be a problem for him. But it was nice to take out the Salamence because if it did switch out, it would get that Aerialate back and be able to do a lot of damage again. And if Jake hadn't protected, all he'd need is another Icy Wind to get speeds back down to neutral to negate the value of that Tailwind. But the problem is now is Xerneas is going to be able to get off a Geomancy no problem, even if the Gengar wakes up, which, to be honest, I think Mike really needs right now because he's going to need to start getting Sludge Bombs off ASAP before it starts doing a lot of damage.
Oof, so Gengar remains asleep this turn. Mike does not get the wake up, and this gives Xerneas a free Geomancy. Going to boost its special attack, special defense, and speed by 2 stages. When you stack that in addition to the Tailwind that Jake took the time to set up last turn, this Xerneas is definitely the fastest thing on the field right now, and is certainly one of the most threatening Pokemon, I think, in the entire metagame. Kyogre on Jake's side of the field using Water Spout. It's still at full health, so that's going to deal a massive amount of damage to that Gengar. Picks up the knockout.
Oh, it's a crit.
It crit, too, so that was an insane amount of damage. Kyogre on Mike's side of the field going for a Scald into the Xerneas, but it might just be too little too late.
Right. Well, I think he probably wanted that burn. It could have helped him stall things out. And granted, losing the Gengar was unfortunate because especially now he's down to 2 Pokemon against 3, so the odds are against him. Both those Pokemon have a decent amount of damage on them. And it looks like he's just going to forfeit. I was going to say he might be able to Trick Room Gyro Ball here, but it looks like Mike knows when he's beat, and they just want to get right into Game 2 and start adjusting. I wonder if Mike actually already has a plan for how he's going to adjust because he was super quick to just be like, I want to go to Game 2 already.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we did talk about this earlier, how Mike is running the same 6 Pokemon as Wolf Glick. But seeing such an early forfeit and seeing some different moves like that Raichu having that feint, I think he's trying to keep as much information hidden as possible going into Game 2. Sometimes having that surprise attack can really just change things into your favor. As we get started here with Game 2, again, Mike is running that Gengar, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Bronzong, Raichu, and Hitmontop team against Jake's Xerneas, Kyogre, Hitmontop, Salamence, Amoonguss, and Bronzong team.
Yeah, and so as far as adjustments go, I think the other problem that Mike is gonna face right now is that he brought the 4 Pokemon, pretty much the only 4 Pokemon he can afford to bring. You're not going to want to bring that Hitmontop against the Xerneas. I mean, maybe you could Wide Guard. That might help, but I think that's easy to read into. And Rayquaza really is going to struggle with both a Kyogre and a Xerneas, making it pretty much dead weight. So I think what this really becomes is maybe getting up your own Trick Room and getting that Safeguard up as soon as possible so you don't have to worry about things going to sleep, because that really, I think, caused a lot of problems for Mike. It stopped his ability to apply offensive pressure. It allowed Jake to set up the Tailwind, then a Geomancy, and that was what allowed him to pretty much just start sweeping. So I think speed control is going to be important in this game, and getting up that Safeguard to stop Amoonguss, because you can't really set up Trick Room without neutralizing that Amoonguss' ability to put everything to sleep.
Let's get this game started. Game 2 of Round 2 of the Arizona Regional Championships. Mike leading with Bronzong and Raichu against Jake's Salamence and Amoonguss.
Yeah, and I think this turn we saw the feint. So these are the same 2 leads as last time, but I think we're going to see different moves. I wouldn't be surprised if a Fake Out came out from that Raichu instead onto the Amoonguss, so that the Bronzong is able to set up a Trick Room or the Safeguard, probably actually the Safeguard first, because that's going to let you Trick Room next turn a lot safer. Granted, Bronzong might take some damage with a Hyper Voice, or Raichu might take damage with a Double Edge. It could go either way. We might also see switches. There's a lot of things that Jake has to do to adjust, but I really think that as long as Mike fakes out and starts positioning himself for a Trick Room sweep, he's going to have a lot better odds than he did last time. So I really think that is his priority right here. And Jake, both the Pokemon on Mike's side are going to resist its stab attack, its same type attack bonus attacks. And so, yeah, I think it makes sense for him to switch out here.
Salamence switching out, Kyogre coming in its place. A very interesting move. I think based off of what you were saying, Salamence was really the Pokemon that had the most potential to do damage. So I think we're going to see a very slow turn. I think we're going to see both Jake and Mike attempt to set up something that'll hopefully swing the momentum in their favor, starting right off the bat. Raichu faking out the Kyogre. It did not fake out the Amoonguss. Amoonguss sporing the Raichu. So Jake learning from the first game that Bronzong would wake up immediately thanks to its Lumberry, and Bronzong does set up the safeguard. So while nothing else will be put to sleep, at least for the foreseeable future, Raichu is taking a nap.
I think that was a great play by Jake because he knew that Mike had to set up a safeguard, but at the same time he knew that if he spored the Bronzong, it was going to be a waste of a turn. So we obviously see that Mike wanted to preserve the HP of his Pokemon, which I think is a smart move. However, he was punished for it because by not faking out the Amoonguss slot, his Raichu is now useless, which it would have been nice if it was awake. You could get off Volt Switches, reposition for momentum, but now it's just going to sit there and do nothing. We will at least find out whether it's Sashed or Assault Vest.
Yeah, Raichu continuing that nap for this first turn. Water Spout picks up the knockout on it quite beautifully, actually. That did a ton of damage to the Bronzong as well. Grass Knot from Amoonguss into the Bronzong slot. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but Bronzong, it appears to be just one attack away from getting knocked out, giving its Levitate to Amoonguss, taking its Regenerator. So I think we're going to see it switch out next turn.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder if this thing even has Trick Room, because it seems like that would be a good thing to go for right now, but he hasn't used it yet. The other thing I do want to note is that not all Raichu are guaranteed to survive a Water Spout at full HP. You do have to have a specific spread to do that, and you obviously need the Assault Vest, which, because you didn't see the Focus Sash, I feel like it's likely he did have the Assault Vest. It's a very good item for it. But, so he brings in the Gengar, which is nice. He could taunt he doesn't have to worry about taunting the Amoonguss. I mean, it could Rage Powder, which might be problematic. But again, without having Trick Room up, I really don't know how Mike brings this back.
We're going to see that Amoonguss go for the Rage Powder, just like you said, and Gengar reveals it actually has Sludge Wave. Gengar also didn't Mega Evolve this turn, so a very interesting play from Mike. Kyogre's Water Spout will attack, picks up the knockout on both Pokemon, so it is down to 1 versus 3, I believe, on Jake's side of the field.
No, it's 4 on 1.
All right, yes, he switched out the Salamence, so... Yeah, that was a really rough turn for Mike.
Yeah, and now that he has this Rayquaza, Amoonguss might die to a Dragon Ascent, but it can just Rage Powder, and you can get a perfectly free Ice Beam, which I don't think kills. Probably, again, this might be a Focus Sash Rayquaza, but it's going to do a lot of damage, even with the Delta Stream up. Again, though, we just see the forfeit. A very quick game, a very quick set, but really Jake having all the advantage in that case, showing that Kyogre and Xerneas is a pretty good duo.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I remember back when the metagame first started, a lot of trainers were like, Groudon Xerneas or bust, Groudon Xerneas or bust. But if you find a core that you're comfortable with and that complements itself well, like this reindeer, as you called it, core, you can really do a lot of work with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have been noticing the trend of Groudon being a very good offensive Pokemon. I think that's the fact that, to my understanding, metagames develop, they go from very offensive to a little bit more defensive as they develop. So both of them are able to do, Kyogre and Groudon are able to do a lot of damage. But Kyogre, I think, is definitely the more traditionally defensive Pokemon. It's going to be able to resist attacks a lot easier. It's going to be able to survive things there on the special side. So I think it makes sense why we're seeing a lot more Kyogre, and it makes sense why we're seeing it with Xerneas, because that's still just as powerful a threat. It does make you a little special attack heavy, But as we just saw, it doesn't really matter. That gets the job done all the same.
Yeah, so we'll be back in a moment with an interview with the winner of that round, Jake, which I'm saying loudly, so hopefully he hears me and doesn't go away. Do you want to be interviewed? All right, we're doing it.
Interview.
All
so
right.
I think I'm going to handle this one.
Yeah, you are.
We'll talk to Jake.
We will be back in just a moment with that interview. Thank you very much for watching.
What is up, everybody? We are back with the winner of the last match, Jake Muller. I'm saying that right. I feel like I always say it wrong. Muller? Okay. All right, cool. I'll never say it right. It's fine. So that was a pretty great set for you. You were able to close that out in 2 games. The second game was a 4-0, pretty convincingly so. But I think I'm curious, when you saw Mike's team, did you immediately think, oh, I'm playing Wolf's team, or did you wonder whether there was something was going to be different?
Well, I mean, it was obviously the same 6 that Wolf used at Worlds, and I know Mike is a really good player and he's a pretty good team builder too, so I figured there might be a couple of changes he made.
Right.
So like the feint on Raichu, Wolf didn't have that, so that's like turn 1, he already gave something up. But I knew like what the team was going to try to do, so I just kind of had to work around any like adjustments Mike might have made.
Right, and it seems like your team had a pretty good natural matchup against that Rayogre archetype. Is that kind of what you were trying to prepare for with the team that you brought today?
That was part of it, yeah. Okay. I knew that like Wolf's team would probably be pretty popular around this time just because he just won Worlds with it, and so I didn't like specifically counter team it or anything, but I just knew that I wanted to know what my game plan was against it, so I thought I executed that pretty well.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And you were able to use your speed control to your advantage in Game 1. So in Game 2, did you... how did you? I mean, you won, so adjusting when you're winning, you don't want to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And we saw a similar strategy. But what were you expecting Game 2?
I wouldn't have been surprised to see the same lead from him. If he had done that, I might have tried to mix it up a little bit. But the Raichu Bronzong. So like Game 1, I saw that Amoonguss was faster than Bronzong. Right. So he couldn't safeguard before I spored, and when he didn't fake out the Amoonguss, I got the free spore off on the Raichu, so that was really nice.
Gotcha. And so now you're 2-0. That's a good start going into the tournament. Are you feeling pretty good with the team?
Oh yeah, I like this team a lot.
That's good. So you think you have a good chance to? I mean, yeah, it may be a little early for that. So anyone else that you're either looking forward to getting a chance to play or that you don't want to play today?
I don't really want to play like Aaron Zhang or Tommy Colleen because they're both using pretty similar teams.
Okay.
Mirrors are never really fun.
Gotcha.
Other than that, like I'm not like particularly scared of like one thing. So
okay.
I think I'll be.
That's good. You're ready for pretty much all challengers. So all right, cool. Any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to Justin Karras for building most of this team at Worlds and helping me fix it for this regional.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you for sitting down with us. Good luck in your next round.
Thank you.
And look forward to maybe seeing you in Top Cut.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Take it easy.